Hey everybody, Weem here. Welcome to the world of Timber and Stone. This game has been recommended to me by a number of you over a long period of time. I'd say it could have even been a year or so since somebody had mentioned it, and it kind of keeps coming up every once in a while, maybe once or twice a month or something. Somebody will say, hey, have you seen Timber and Stone? And I kind of forget what it is. I go look at it and go, oh yeah, it's the Stonehearth. It looks like Stonehearth, gotcha. And then I kind of, maybe I'll play that one day. We'll check it out. But anyway, recently someone suggested it once again, I think within the last couple weeks, and I went and checked it out and thought, okay, you know what, maybe I'll get that next time. And with RimWorld wrapping up, I decided yesterday I would go check it out. So what I did was I went and purchased the game, downloaded the game, and then started reading some things on Reddit and found out that a new version was coming. So it was very coincidental that yesterday, when I downloaded and bought the game, it hadn't been updated in a long time, and I just so happened to pick the day that the new version was coming out. So this version, 1.6, completely overhauled the graphics, so they look very different than Stonehearth. And if I've done my job, if I remember correctly, I'll put some screenshots up of what this used to look like before the graphic update, and you'll see what I'm getting at. They looked very similar. But anyway, we've got a whole new look here, graphics wise. So those of you who've been suggesting this, maybe you haven't seen the new graphics yet since this just came out. But what I wanted to do in this video was basically just show you my test world here, explain the game a little bit, and ask you, do you want to see this come to the channel? So I'm looking for you guys to like this video and or leave a comment letting me know you'd like to see more. As I play this, I'm really enjoying it and can bring it to the channel, but it's a bit of a slower paced game, I guess. I am very much enjoying it so far, but I'm still learning, and so I thought I would just throw this out in the meantime, show you guys the game, and like I said, see if you guys want to see it come to the channel. So we've got all of our survivors here on the world. I want to say our survivors. Are they really survivors? I don't know. They're settlers, right? Okay, so they've moved out here intentionally. Let's go with that. We have enough survival stuff going on. So these guys moved out here intentionally. We've got some sleeping, some sitting, and a number of others working. Now we've got, I think you start with 8. I did lose one recently. A goblin killed one. And but basically when you start the game, you actually choose your world, and then you choose a place within this area to settle. And I just chose right in the middle. If I zoom in here, this is where you'll see I've got basically all of my civilized quote-unquote area, which really isn't much. Like I said, we're still just getting started. But generally, you start with a cart, you start with your people, and that's it. So you start gathering materials from around, from nearby, and craft things. I think probably just looking at it, you would get a good understanding already of what's going on. But I've got some storage capacity over here. That's what these different things are. We can only store, I think at the start, 20 of each of these types, and they're stored in the cart. But by adding these kind of structures out here, we add to our storage capacity. So that's what the majority of this stuff is out here. We have some workbenches, an anvil, a forge, just a standard workbench, a timbering bench to make some timbers out of raw wood with, and then I've got some chairs, because basically I have an area designated here. I think I can show you this. This area in purple is designated as the hall. This is where people will gather, and I just set some chairs up so they'll stand here rather than roam around. Obviously we have farmers. I have people out gathering. We can actually select our people, and they have different jobs. So you can see the guy I've selected here that's sleeping, Eleanor, is a forager with at level 7. They can only do one job at a time, and I read that if you switch between them a whole lot, their morale can go down, but that's not something I've got into yet. And at this point, there's hotkeys to switch between them, which is really cool. I've switched it to Z and X, so I can actually hit X and cycle through everybody and look at their skills and switch people up if need be. Looks like Matthew's out here fishing. So anyway, pretty interesting game. We've got all kinds of resources. The thing that I found really compelling was when I jumped in, it just seemed easy to kind of catch on to. I mean, I came in here, we have resources, a lot of different kinds of resources. When I click on these, it actually tells you what you need to make it, and then the skill level and the job itself needed to make that item. So very intuitive, very easy to jump in here and see, okay, here's the things I want. We also have different objects. We have workshops, for example, siegecraft. We can make a ballista. And that's kind of the next element of this game. Now, normally we're like, okay, you're gathering everything and you're surviving, and I've told you that a goblin killed one of the characters, so you know that there's creatures in the game. There are spiders and wolves and skeletons and things like that. But as you grow and you add roads and everything, you can actually start to build maybe a castle or a fortress. And as you grow that way, you start to draw more and more attention, so things get a little bit more dangerous. Some of the jobs you can choose are infantry and archer to kind of help with the combat, and basically that's what this game is about. I was reading the developer talk about the game, and he said that he wanted to basically make a sandbox game where you could create any kind of settlement or village or anything. And basically, he wanted a game where you could gather materials and everything, and the food and everything to support an army. So as you kind of build up and you have people being soldiers and everything, you've got to support them with food and everything, the entire infrastructure. So anyway, that's the gist of the game. We've got a number of other things we can do, like designate areas to dig. One of the things I really like about this is that we can actually lower the terrain level. If I just go ahead and page down, there you go. We can go on down into the world, so we can get into some cave setups down there. Get a lot of mining going on, so that's pretty cool. I've been digging this out as steps. One of the things as well is you can see there's actually material here. I can actually hold Q, and as you mouse over it, it tells you what it is, and that level is what level you need to be to mine it. So I think our miner right now is maybe level 5 or so. So anyway, you can see I've got some items over here on the right that I'm tracking. You can actually very easily jump into any resource there is, select it, and you can hit track, and it will throw it out over on the right side there. So that's pretty cool. Now I'm going to kind of pan out here a bit, and I remember the direction of the goblins is the direction my farm is facing here. I did end up sending out some infantry and my archer. You can see the terrain is still lowered. I can raise that back up. And they came out here and killed some goblins that had set up here with a fire and everything. Now this is the guy I lost. I actually can't select him or do anything with him. So normally on a dead creature you can collect the resources or at least dispose of the corpse. But this guy, well, he's just going to be hanging there indefinitely, I suppose. Now another thing I really like about this game is these goblins set up here. There started to be more and more of them, and they started taking out resources and everything. They were kind of moving around doing things, which I thought was pretty sweet. So if you don't deal with this stuff, it gets worse. So I like that. I think that's a pretty cool element of the game. Well, we have a farmer who is idle right now. He's just sitting here, and every once in a while, there you go. He says, "One does not simply farm without a hoe." So I was going to show you really quick how we make an item. So we've got on the right side, I have the various tools, and over here you can see we have no more hoes left. Now the guy over here has one already, so that's not counting. He's got one, and eventually that's going to break down. We'll have to make a new one. So we're going to jump in here. We're going to scroll down to the stone hoe. And I do have one maintained in storage. So essentially the stonemason, as long as there is a stonemason assigned, he would make one. Now I currently don't have a stonemason assigned, and we are going to need one anyway to make that hoe. So let's go ahead and switch Fel Fox over to stonemason. So he's going to go over there and get started on that. At least he should. And I might actually queue up a few more. Now you'll see he's making this. I want to show you this. In the queue up here it still says empty, and I noticed it doesn't show it if you're doing a maintain and storage, but if I go ahead and select 2 of these, you'll see them show up in the top here. And again, it's kind of cool because the queue can become this list, and you can actually select it if it's not going anywhere, and then hit select, and it will go right to it and show you what you need. You know, this oftentimes I get reminded like, oh yeah, I need a stonemason kind of set for that. So he made the one in queue. It got picked up by the farmer, and now he's working on the next 2 that I actually set him to make. So we've got one in the inventory now, and another one coming. So that's kind of the process. There's a lot going on in the game. I think that it's going to take some practice getting used to kind of moving people around. I sometimes end up with 3 or 4 people idle, and I end up pausing the game trying to figure out, okay, where's the holdup? Somebody's not doing something and it's holding other people up. But I think as I get more and more used to it, that'll definitely get faster. But this is still very early stage. If I jump in here, scroll down to weapons, you can see we've got all kinds of weapons, including fire arrows, some really cool stuff requiring some really hardcore material. I'm barely into the copper right now, and you could see that we're on day 4, but the day-night cycles are really long in this game, so we've been playing quite a bit and barely progressed here. And I actually kind of like that. The slower pace doesn't really bother me that much, but this kind of goes back to the whole reason for this video, is that I'm going to continue to play this and on my own for sure, but I do want to know if you guys would like to see this come to the channel, so please do leave me a like or comment if you want to see come to the channel, and we can kind of go through it together, check it out together. I know a number of you already have told me you would like to see it, but you can let me know again. If you could let me know again, I would appreciate that here in the comments. So anyway, I think we're going to go ahead and leave it at that. This has just been a very quick look at Timber and Stone, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this quick look, and I definitely look forward to seeing what you guys think about watching more. Thanks for watching, I appreciate it, and I'll catch you next time.